Welcome everybody to the April poetry reading here at the River Falls Public Library. I should note that April is National Poetry Month, and this week is also National Library Week. So thanks for coming down. I wanted to mention a couple events that we've got coming up here in April. On Thursday, April 21st at 6 p.m., there's going to be another program in the sustainability series, The Mental Health Impacts of Our Changing Climate, with Dr. Christy Manning from Macalester College. And at the moment, we're not sure if this is going to be in person or only streaming, so check our website for updates on that. And then all throughout April, the library is partnering with other community organizations to celebrate Earth Month. And that's going to culminate in Earth Fest on Sunday, April 24th from 2 to 5 p.m. at Glen Park. So hopefully the snow will have stopped by then. And we will also be starting our semi-annual library book sale on Monday, April 25th. So we'll have lots of stuff for that. So I'm going to start out with a couple poems here, and then we'll move on to the rest of the speakers. A couple weeks ago, I found myself in Portland, Oregon for a library conference. It was the first time I'd traveled anywhere really in about 2.5 years. So it was nice to get away. And it happened to coincide with the cherry blossoms blooming in Portland. So I'm going to start off here with some haiku about cherry blossoms. And I think in the semi-traditional manner, I'll read each one twice. This first one is by Onitsura. Silent cherry bloom, again with your old eloquence, address my inner ear. Silent cherry bloom, again with your old eloquence, address my inner ear. Troops of tourists come for April flower viewing. Oh, they're sparrowmen. Troops of tourists come for April flower viewing. Oh, they're sparrowmen. That's by Basho. And finally, one by Issa. In the city fields, contemplating cherry trees, strangers are like friends. In the city fields, contemplating cherry trees, strangers are like friends. And it looks like the first person up is Randy.
Just to explain this just a bit, I was reading a poem by a man named Dylan Walsh. He's a Welsh poet, Dylan Thomas. And I found it very interesting, so I read up about him a little bit, and so I decided to kind of write a poem in his style. It's called A Simple Tear. My life is worth but a single memory, not in the many, but only of the one. No value of sweated coins, nor carved stone monument, nor pigment gentled canvas, nor written parchment testimonial, nor silver salt image on glass, nor vibrations metered on a measure to glorify my life. None held to remind breathers that knew of the days which I roamed. None held to preserve land's last minute, to teach seedlings that do not yet breathe. This time I spent pulling words from pen, this time of want and waste, this time of fear and placidness. All that I am will be only a memory, concealed, revealed within your quiet tear. Whether I lie within protected walls or spread thin upon the wind, or cast deep into the sea, death has no advantage. And I have one more on a little lighter side called No Master of Thoughts, meaning that when you let your thoughts go, you have no control of them and you just let them go where they go. Are we clouds drifting upon a breeze, caring not where we go, caring not where we flow? Or are we clouds so high above the earth below, clouds so far below the sun and moon and stars above, that we find ourselves contained inside a path that leads us lonely across the sky, a path destined to drift apart, side by side, in light or dark, mists so pure to never touch by fate, as single clouds till we would dissipate? Are we to drift endlessly to the horizon, from sunrise then moonrise, from sunset to moonset, till time itself begs to stop? Or are we clouds drifting freely till pushed in time to be immersed in heart and mind, then to show on to the earth or glanced on by the sea, those who watch us endlessly, how much we love to be one cloud upon the heavens, mixed in mist and fog, to create a rain so soft and pleasant that it gently falls upon the ground, to neither blush a single petal nor dampen a single soul? Are we clouds drifting upon a breeze, caring not where we go, caring not where we flow? Are we clouds? Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Next up is Kim.
So you're telling me that no one filled in that number 2 spot? Oh, well. It's always a challenge because I never quite know what this audience is going to be. And so I had to do some shuffling. But so some of these you may have heard before, and some of you certainly not. Let's start off with Saturday morning. I have joined a pack of jackals today to scavenge the possessions of one who is dead and one dispossessed, and carted off to live in a nursing home because she can no longer care for herself in her own home. So others and I have been invited to pick over the remains. I feel like a thief or a cat burglar, invading a home and stealing off with possessions the owner may not be ready to part with, or like a molester, fondling the curves of the finely crafted bedroom suit, smooth as silk so carefully carved, fingering slowly the keys of the piano, softly playing a tune others should not hear. Dead or alive, the old ones are gone from the house, so I make my deals without giving them too much thought. I tear up my number, I pay the auctioneer's wife, I gather my carrion into my arms and slink away. Initially, it comes this evening with a variety of love poems, but we'll save some of those for another time. This is called Separation, and still in that tradition. I roll over in the darkness. I want light, I want beauty, I want you. Your image rises before me, your skin smooth as glass, the slight hint of chocolate and raspberries on your breath. With the thumb and middle finger of my right hand, I count down the vertebrae from the base of your skull, one by one, by one, by one, by one, to the smooth plain of Shinar at your tailbone. I reach around your waist with my arm to pull you close and close the gap between us. But you are 1,000 miles away and can give no promise of return. This one is, as I put this in the category of surreal. It's one of those ones that either wakes you up in the middle of the night or greets you in the morning. And you just start writing and you say, where in the world did this come from? So we take it and run with it. Life is a strange beast. Life is a strange beast, she said to me. What was that, I said? Not certain I had heard it correctly. Life, it's a strange beast, you know. Oh, no, I didn't know that, I said, once again feeling I was trapped into talking to a crazy woman on the bus to Sacramento as dusk faded to dark. Oh, yes, she said. Sometimes at night I hear it howl. I didn't remember ever hearing anything howl at night. Oh, well, maybe once when I was 7, and the neighbor's dog Pepper could not be quieted. And my brothers told me it was a sign someone was going to die by sunrise. It took me the longest time to fall asleep that night. And sometimes it picks at the bones, she said, as if half to herself and half for my benefit. Sometimes my bones. She whispered over her shoulder out the window, as if remembering something almost sacred. Though I am not yet dead, and I watch closely as a bristly muzzle of acrid stale breath brushes past my naked face, sniffing. Sometimes I'm slumped over in Baghdad or Beirut or Darfur. Sometimes an alley in LA, a vacant lot in Atlantic City or Vegas, and this strange beast comes snuffling. Other times I lie in a VA ward or face down in a river in Cambodia, a nursing home or hospice care. Once it was a pediatric ward near Wheeling. A very brief stay that was. Another time, my car careened off the road west of Colorado Springs. I was pinned there for 4 days before a cyclist pulled me out, alive. She was fixing a flat tire when she noticed my car. Life is a strange beast, she muttered. And sometimes, she said before taking a very long pause, sometimes it purrs. I was told I could read on, so I do one more here. Let's do something on a lighter side. This is for some of my younger friends and for some friends of mine that I left in North Carolina. It's called TC the Cat from my critter collection. I once had a cat for a time I called Pounce. When first we met, she weighed but 3 pounds and an ounce. She's gray and white, and she liked a good fight under the bed with my slipper in the middle of the night. She came for a visit some years ago, and then, of course, quite quickly did it begin to snow. A young cat in winter, alone, with no place to go. When she decided to stay, how could I say no? I have not seen her now for quite some time. When I moved to Wisconsin, I had to leave her behind. But Barbara and Cyrus have given her a good home, where there are places to hide and spaces to roam. But what can I say? Or what can I do? But write a little poem and share it with you. Thank you.
So I think we're going to take just a quick pause here because we're supposed to have a siren test any second now. And then we'll resume when that's over. It should just be a couple minutes. Well, I'm not quite sure what happened to our tornado siren, but I think it looks like Kaylee is next. If you want to give it a shot, and if you get interrupted, we'll start over. And yeah.
The last 5 years, I've kind of been going through a lot of different things. I've come to the point in my life where I have to make lots of choices. And so these poems reflect, where do I go? What do I do? Just kind of the doubt and insecurities moving forward. Yeah. Okay, first one's called Stuck. Holding my grandson on my hip, I nuzzle the baby boy, soft cheek to soft cheek, a slight turn to kiss, press pillowy lips into his chewy cheek. I back off a few inches, glance at his dark eyes, long lashes. He tilts his head near again to bust my face. We are stuck a few more seconds in a snuggle when another baby on a hip in the crowd catches his eye. He heaves his body in a new direction, wordlessly urging me to move on. I was teaching in Ellsworth and always saw eagles. And I always saw eagle when I needed it, driving to or from school. So I kind of took that as a sign because I was in a lot of, am I going to teach another year or not? So this is called the Eagle Way. And the Lakota word for eagle is Wanblee. I can't look for eagles. They find me. One day, a white head, white tail, pointed like a compass arrow, propelled by steadily flapping dark brown wings, flies ahead of my car, leading me away. Another day, Wanblee glides across the road over a snow-filled field where I cannot follow, but maybe should consider. Someday, I will know the way. Then, made the big decision to finally retire. It was a rough year teaching, the 2021 COVID, and a rough year for everybody, but it was time to stop. And I was pretty beaten up from that year. So this is called Up Ahead. Plodding along the overgrown path on the first day of retirement, my footsteps as heavy as my thoughts. Ruining time I felt I had wasted, wondering what to do with the time in front of me, staring at my feet, seeing nothing, remembering 3 evenings ago, walking up an asphalt driveway in a cul-de-sac, looking at my feet, feeling loopy dizzy from the zigzag lights and pain of a migraine, hearing a sweet, concerned voice calling, "Grandma, where are you going?" Looking up to see my 3 grandchildren standing on the steps of the house next door. In my befuddlement, I had nearly walked into the neighbor standing in his garage watching me draw near. "Grandma, where are you going?" rings in my brain in a heavy fog of recriminating, fearful thoughts. Seeing nothing on this grassy path until I almost bump into a fawn. Wobbly, shaking, flies in her eyes. I want to pet her, brush the flies away. I don't. Mom must be near, watching her newborn. I watch too as the baby totters off the path into a thicket and blends into her surroundings. "Grandma, where are you going?" comes back to my brain in a softer, kinder tone. I don't know, but I'm going to follow this trail until it leads into another, keeping my eyes open and my head up. Had to figure it out. One of my favorite lines from the Shawshank Redemption is you either got to get busy living or get busy dying. This is called Get Busy Living. The snowstorm left an invitation to start something new. Overnight, the brown leaves and dormant grass were covered with a white blanket as the last 3 seasons were put to rest. The expanse before me sparkles in the morning sun, and the cold air sweeps through my lungs as I walk onto the driveway, snow crunching underfoot. I look back at the designs pressed into the snow by the bottom of my boots. It is a good beginning. And I'd like to read one more. I kind of just go with me in this story. It's called A Thread in the Tapestry. I didn't know her, had never seen her before that day in the clinic waiting for blood test. She was slouched in a wheelchair, had wispy white hair, and a worn throw on her lap wrapped around her folded arms. She was there first. I sat down, pulled out my cell phone, preparing for a long wait, but she needed to be greeted, acknowledged, and I needed not to be rude. Hot, humid weather, need rain, cold in this room, led me to asking, who brought you here? Wondering why she was unaccompanied. Should I keep going? Yeah. Okay. An aide from an assisted living facility had dropped her off. She grew up in a tiny town not far away, was raised along with a sister by her grandmother. 2 brothers, now deceased, were raised by their mother. She is 84 years old, recently had met a new grandniece, 7 pounds, 4 ounces, and 20 inches at birth. Her nephew had placed the baby in her lap. That tiny baby is so pretty, so precious. Her name is Candace. I was called first and stood up to go. The wheelchair had become a throne, and she was an ancient queen, wearing a silver crown and royal robe, nearing the end of her reign, at peace and content. Thank you.
Thomas Smith. If you want to wait till it stops, that's fine too.
I don't know. It's not too bad. I don't know what it sounds like to people out, watching this on their computers, but maybe this will go with us all right. This is a new poem called "The Moral Damage of War," and I was thinking about what's going on in Ukraine right now, and also thinking about how much damn money the weapons industry is making right now. They're having a blast with this. They don't care who wins. I'm on Ukraine's side, but it's called "The Moral Damage of War." Vicky's nephew in Warsaw emails that he's crossing the border to bring back Ukrainian refugees, doing it to help out because he can. Our Unitarian minister, Ted, is preaching on the moral damage of war. Is the degree of damage relative to our actions? In our bathroom, the National Wildlife Federation calendar shows a pair of Canadian lynx kittens in what appears to be a mossy hollow log. How alert their presence, their blue-green gaze, their healthy wet noses. They nestle together in animal comfort, coarse fur shading into the hollow's darkness. The moss and lichen framing the opening are almost floral, a wild, sweet garden, beautiful, Earth's beloved children. In Eastern Europe, Ukrainians shelter now in any place that will have them away from the bullets and bombs, the indiscriminate killing, the wholesale destruction. Children sleep on a floor, their colorful clothes and blankets, the rags of a torn protection. War is a crime against everything young, everything trying to get a foothold in the world, lynx or human, a crime against Earth and the future. After a lifetime under the permanent wartime economy, I should be more skilled at writing against the evil madness that targets nuclear reactors, schools, and hospitals in its lust for dominance. But all I have are these bloody finger marks on raw granite. The lynx kits in their tree cavity, who only kill to eat, have no part or say in how we defile their planet. Maybe the moral damage of war is nothing more or less than our acceptance of a world in which money and weapons corrupt our basic sympathy for the innocent and reduce our God to a mirror image of ourselves, whose worship demands of us no sacrifice, but our honor. Thank you. All right. I thought that would go well with the air raid siren. I want to read a couple more poems. These are spring poems. This is a spring pandemic poem from 2 years ago. By the way, I'm going to be doing a reading here on Thursday, June 16th, to celebrate the publication of a new book of mine called Medicine Year. And it's all poems written in 2020, and this is one of them. I think this came from March, maybe March 23rd or something like that of 2020. It's called Nature Anyway. It's for a Mayan. Well, what's that? Okay. I dedicated it to a Mayan shaman, a friend of mine who lives down in New Mexico now. His name is Martin Prechtel. Nature Anyway. The air is clean and brisk, and the birds have always insisted on social distancing. And we can still walk out and do the same. It's spring, but the wind is cold, pushes wrinkles across the face of the water. Out on the river, ducks, geese, mergansers, buffleheads contribute heat to the great warming of the season. Nature, anyway, goes its way. Do you also have the feeling that somehow it's wiser than we are? That it knows and is trying to show us something we don't? This is a sacred space where whatever has died in us may yet live. So don't succumb to complaining or self-pity. Just try to be present for it. Putting no distance between yourself and the earth. Say, I'm ready for you to stand up in me. Say to the trees, make me the springtime. So, okay, I'm gonna do one more here. This is kind of an Easter poem. I've been on a campaign for several years to make more of an observance of Easter Monday. I'm always so disappointed, and here we go building up to Easter, and we have Lent, and then suddenly, Monday it's back to work. That's not right. And I did some research into this, and I found out that one of the names around the world for Easter Monday is Bright Monday. Oh, that's good. I like that, Bright Monday. So this poem is called In Search of Bright Monday, and it tells you some of the things that people in other countries do on the on the Monday after Easter Sunday. In search of Bright Monday. What's the point of resurrection if you have to go back to work the next day? If he's truly risen, given a new lease, let us feel it, know it in our body. Spend the day after picnicking in the countryside, as the Italians and Portuguese do. Fly a kite on Holy Saturday, as practiced in Georgia. That's Georgia the country, not Georgia the state. Sprinkle house and food with blessed water, or simply smell the breeze. the literal meaning of that day's observance in Egypt, Sham el-Nassim. The Irish honor those dead in the Easter rising. The Polish celebrate with polka and sausage. That would work for us. The Polish celebrate with polka and sausage. Worthy ways to pass an Easter Monday, also known in the Eastern Orthodox tradition as Bright Monday. Yes, that's what I want. A bright Monday, for letting the breeze of grace blow through me so I know it, for receiving the gift that's so hard for us to accept, and for not feeling sad that the old somber necessary clouds have moved in so fast on our radiant Sunday. Okay, thanks.
And Craig.
My name is Craig, and I'm just going to say a short verbatim poem. I'll trust. I trust in him because he is real. He's done so much. Sometimes I don't feel. I'm thankful all that he's always done and is doing to bless me now and where I'm going. No matter what I go through in life, he's there. And I know I can always trust him. He's everywhere. Through what I do and what I think, I pray he would guide me and make me think of what he done for me in past and he's doing now to make it last, to make a better life, not only for me, but everyone that I can see. Thank you.
River. Okay.
And there goes my bell. Sorry about the bell. First, I want to say that we have a poetry group here. We're meeting what is it? 2 Wednesdays a month, the 2nd and the 4th, at 1:00 here at the library, up in the ballroom. Boardroom. We've done it many times, huh? So I don't. I have to take these off. Oopsie, I dropped those. That's okay. They're okay. My first. Open. There it goes. Yep. My first poem, can we have this lowered just a little bit? I'm not quite, I feel like thank you. That's perfect. My first poem has an Ojibwe word in it. It's asema, which means tobacco, prayer tobacco. It's called A River's Gift. High among treetops, changes in the air. Beams escape paths of dawn, bouncing off naked limbs. A kiss of warmth upon my cheek leads me to my window. Outside, the budding birch dances in the breeze. Scurry, dart to and fro, and I find I'm swaying, moving to the morning song. Spring is here, the air is warm. A crow flies by. Caw, caw, she calls for you. Late, I quickly ready. Make my way down beside her watery edge. Asema slides into her palm as I wait for my lesson. An odd sound arises, a rustling of sorts, deep, deep down. I imagine the movers somewhere underground in another realm. But then an old man appears, crouched near a stump. his hands caked brown, smiling ear to ear, his toes wiggling, free in the dirt. Can you hear them? They're awake. Do you hear the worms? It's my spring poem. Yep. I know I'm a little shaky, but I'm doing it. Okay, this next one, this one's kind of old, but it's called A Night of Jazz Mixed with Bits of Poetry. Begins with the deep notes of the horn, drifting the streets in wait, for the whispering sax to rise through the staircase of brown stone. He follows the old sounds of jazz to a door of ancient weight, marked with carvings of time and place. The door opens to a dimly lit room, smoke laced with a bourbon scent. 50 years, time's passed. He's been gone from this tavern of jazz, where musicians blend in the walls that know the notes all night in Colombian haze. He watches her move from the shadows and is caught by her brown eyes, and how he knows she is the poet they say, flew amidst a river of words and carved couplets in stone. He bends down to get up, and she's gone. Only a white feather floats down to the sounds of jazz. So I have one more. This one also has a couple of Ojibwe words in it. Monoman, wild rice, and Asema again. My first harvest. My first harvest began on the tail of a dream, with frames of another time that became mine, the day we cruised north in our old Chevy, prepared to rice all day. In a cloud of dusk, we arrived upon the lake we sought, bursting with Monoman standing tall and proud. You unload the canoe, the gear, and then carry me with my compromised legs down to the shore. I offer a Sema, totally ready to prove to all, but most importantly, to myself, I can do this. With one push, we're off into a maze of reeds swaying in the wind, releasing aromas surrounding my every cell. Quickly, you find your rhythm. As we glide between your every pull, I bend reeds down and knock the rice free as we go deeper into the rice bed. Breathing in traditions, I feel the harvest within. As I gather Monoman like my ancestors, an experience of a lifetime on a day of breathtaking beauty. Thank you. Oh, can I just say one thing? I've been planning this in May 21st and 22nd, honor the water, an event. It's the first day it's going to be an EB water walk for the Kinnikinnick, and then the second day we'll have a fundraiser in the evening at Glen Park. There'll be poetry and music, and all the donations go to the Kinnikinnick Land Trust. But you'll see flyers around town when it gets closer. Thank you.
You good?
Thanks, River. Next is Julie.
Hello. I traveled all the way here from St. Paul to visit my friend River. And my first poem is inspired by the work of Diane Seuss. Her poem, Let's Meet Somewhere Outside Time and Space. And this poem is called Let's Meet. In the pocket of the hand-me-down jacket, with the reindeer charm zipper pull. Inside the rolled up scroll in a Band-Aid box, buried beneath the Russian olive tree. Through the links of the fence where the basset hound leans to get her velvety ears rubbed. In the space between the wall and the radiator, where a St. Bridget prayer card cloisters. Counterclockwise, on the whorl of a baby's head, on the same spiral that swirls through our galaxy, on the fulcrum of the red-handled pliers that hang in the chalked outline over my father's workbench. Beyond the surrender of each choice, in realms we have yet to imagine. And next, I have a spring poem. I'm always looking around my yard for the very first thing that blooms. Is it going to be the crocus? Is it going to be the pasque flower? And often in my yard, it's columbines. And I've noticed a little strange thing going on between the columbines and another thing. This poem's called Audacious Liaison. At the first sign of warm weather, she dangles upside down in a crimson frock, irreverently flaunting her pistils and stamen. Shallow, his collecting roots remain close to the surface, greedily sucking up moisture. She gives the come on to hawk moths and hummingbirds, the only ones with tongues long enough to access the nectar deep in her spurs. Exuding the scent of drugstore aftershave, his dense needles, sensitive to winter burn, have emerged light green. A gold digger. She loves his acidic soil and the way sunlight filters through his foliage. He finds it irresistible, the way she shamelessly twines herself through his lower branches, carrying on a dalliance right at the end of my driveway, the red columbine and dwarf Alberta spruce. And I have one more to share with you. I am a teacher with the Minneapolis Public Schools. And I don't know if you all know, we were on strike for 3 weeks. And that was tough. We don't get paid. And we wear fanny packs and cheater glasses, and we want to be in the classroom working. And so it was kind of hilarious to see my middle-aged colleagues out there yelling, "If we don't get it, shut it down." But we really had some important things that we needed addressed. So one day, and when we were on strike, we were all over the place. We went to the governor's mansion. We were in downtown Minneapolis. We were at Government Plaza. And so one day when we were coming back from a demonstration at Government Plaza, there was the statue of Mary Tyler Moore on Nicollet Mall. And I said to my fellow strikers, "Come on, I want to get your picture with your picket sign." And one of my friends held up her picket sign, and there were all these other unions out supporting the teachers. And these hands appeared with blue masking tape, and they took our picket sign and they taped it to Mary's upraised hand, which I felt good about because I wouldn't want to be the one defacing the statue. And then later in the day, more people came along, and our color was bright blue. All of us had bright blue stocking caps and these scarves. Someone gave up their hat for Mary. Someone gave up their scarf for Mary. And I did a little research about Mary Tyler Moore. I grew up in Colorado Springs, and I remembered my first impression of Minneapolis was through the Mary Tyler Moore show. And I thought it was just such a cosmopolitan big city. There she was. Well, she was before her time. She was the first female character to be autonomous. Before that, women had to be married on TV or pursuing a relationship. This program was about her life and her relationships with people at work. And she wasn't married, and she wasn't looking for anybody. So she was a feminist before I even knew what a feminist was. And this poem is called Mary Tyler Moore Joins the Union. From across Nicollet Mall, she winks at me. Throwing the gauntlet, she hurls her tam in the air. Love is all around. No need to fake it. We are weaving our way through the throng. You can have the town. Why don't you take it? Marching with thousands of educators and supporters gathered in front of the government plaza, Greta Callahan, our MFT 59 president, cries out, "We are in a fight for the soul of our city." The bronze statue of Mary scintillates assent. Our picket signs raised for safe and stable schools. Mary extends her hand, picks up a sign, beams down on us, effervescent, dons a Union blue stocking cap without mussing her flip. You're gonna make it after all.
Kate Maud.
I just have one piece tonight. Something I wrote over the winter. I was thinking about my grandfather. It's called "Around 1960, My Grandfather Lost the Farm." His cow's sick with mastitis. I've only ever been told the story as one detail of our history. I was never told of sleepless nights preceding the move to town, or packing carefully wrapped juice glasses, bedding in bulging boxes, sweaty hands streaked with newsprint. It was one piece that came before my grandfather's garden behind the house in the city, and the green cupboard in the basement full of canned beans and carrots. The farm was lost before he traveled to the fjords of Norway, before he sold Fords, before my grandmother started teaching. He lost it before he taught his grandkids to tie a knot that would keep the hook on the line, before he showed them how to roll the lefse, and before they all refused to try the lutefisk, before his son lost his hair just like he had, and before the usual things like cancer. It was before my son was born, and well before I watched him disappear down the alley on 2 wheels, before my daughter and I pulled over in the car not far from where my grandfather had farmed to watch dozens of grackles who had pulled themselves from the branches of a tree. It was before I began cataloging things in our garage, knowing everything must go sooner or later. It was long before the late night when I drove that same road his farm had been on, trying not to think of anything at all, as I went to the hospital where my mother had just died. It was before this cold January air filled our nostrils, froze our eyelashes, pricked at our ears just as it always does, and before the past seemed to have as much force as a pebble dropped from an open palm. Thanks.
And Hattie.
My poem is called Different Kinds of Quiet. Turning pages quiet, in an elevator with random people quiet, chewing bubblegum quiet, watching a robin quiet, painting a picture quiet, walking down the hall quiet, thinking deeply quiet, reading quiet, watching the stars quiet, doing a puzzle quiet, hugging goodbye quiet, writing a poem quiet, watching the rain fall quiet, middle of the night quiet, snuggling your puppy quiet, walking home in the snow quiet.
And Augie.
My poem is called What Things Can Do. Rabbits are fast, turtles are slow, fish can swim, birds can fly, badgers can dig, and kangaroos can jump. I can't go as fast as a rabbit, or as slow as a turtle, or swim like a fish, or fly like a bird, or dig like a badger, or jump like a kangaroo, but I can just be me.
Cheryl.
Hello. I just want to say I don't know anything about poems or poetry or authors, and I decided to step out of my comfort zone tonight and come here to listen to all of you. And I'm the Mary Tyler Moore era too, so I've only written 3 real short, quick poems about 20 years ago. I read them a few times, put them in a little envelope, threw them in a box, forgot about them. So tonight you get to be my guinea pigs to see if they're poems or not. So the first one is called Divinity, and I wrote it in March 2004. Divinity is the essence of our mind, leaving this world to a place of no questions or directions, only to be free of our mind, to feel the essence of a journey of no other kind, only to never return to a chaotic mind. And then the second one, it's called Tears. This was in 2002. I have cried the happy tear. I have cried the I am sorry tear. I've also cried the goodbye tear, but I'll see you soon tear. I have cried the angry tear. I have cried the hurtful tear. I also have cried the I don't want to live tear. The best tear is the beautiful sounds of making love tears. The only tear I have never cried is the beauty of your sweetness. I know I will see you again tear. And then just one more. So, and that's called, this was from 2002. It's called Today. Today is a sunny day. Why don't I feel it? Everyone is smiling, but all I am doing is crying. Why don't I think clearly? My mind is so blurry. Today is a bad day because my mind is so sad. Today, let the mind mend so the body can bend. Today, why is my mind the way it is? So thank you.
And Liz. Is Liz Allen here? Oh,
I write poetry. I don't write often. I craft around the bone inside the poem, not the meaning, but with a clear intent to communicate something that would ordinarily take a lot more words. That makes it hang together. This is hard to speak in public. I haven't done it so long and I can't catch my breath. I'm not nervous, I don't think. That makes it hang together in a way that I don't understand, but I'm fascinated by. And I also love the multiple meanings of words and how they intersect with each other. Multiple meanings and associations. Most of my poems come out of meditation, which I do in the dark with a candle and some incense before dawn. Some of these are songs because I used to be a songwriter, but some of them are just poems. This is just a poem. The poems about death and old age and dying, and in the city, a dying earth, are love poems too. Like a blind and a deaf animal groping toward the only thing there is now. It is clearly laid open everywhere, the insects on a summer screen door or the expanse of shrillness in the field. Always just this one. Not always the perfect one that seems to overlook the cliff and nod at the parade of gifts. From within unshamed skin, it demands ever more thirstily the lovingly laid eye, the spark of instant recognition unbidden, and holding the door. Because it has no outside, it becomes exquisite in spite of its awkward gait. How often, and who often sees you really when you are drowning in your relentless, perfectly articulated reflection? The cry you make, the words you speak, whatever utterance you create from that silent collapse brings it all to you, but leaves the torn flesh unhealed and the crier unfed. It is the tremendous and unsparing green earth now in summer. You are the only one here to speak about it before winter arrives, and all this is twisted to a different color, and you yourself have forgotten that there was anything to take notice of, just the bowl in the same place next to the kitchen sink, some familiar hands at your work. And that's all.
Was there anyone else who wanted to read who hadn't signed up? Nope. Okay. So I'm gonna close with several more haiku here, and this the first one I actually wrote myself, and after doing some research on haiku this week, I've learned it's a lot more complicated than just counting syllables. So here goes. Pink cherry blooms wake along the downtown sidewalks, spring green homeless tents. Pink cherry blooms wake along the downtown sidewalks, spring green homeless tents. And then I've got one by Issa and then one by Ripo. A saddening world, flowers whose sweet blooms must fall, as we too, alas. A saddening world, flowers whose sweet blooms must fall, as we too, alas. Three loveliest things, moonlight, cherry bloom, now I go seeking silent snow. Three loveliest things, moonlight, cherry bloom, now I go seeking silent snow. All right, thanks everyone for coming out. We'll see if we can do another one of these towards the end of the year, maybe. Otherwise, feel free to stick around and have something to eat or drink and chat for a bit. And yeah, I'm glad you could all make it. Thanks.